time with us, and we appreciate all this great crowd today. We're going to turn that over to Ken now.
I want to know what reason there is to leave here.
No good ones.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I want to point out for Brenda here, how many of you know Brenda? Yeah, a lot of you. She kind of connected me with Mario, and that's good. How many of you have been to any of my seminars before? Yeah, some of you guys. I've done a lot of seminars. Harley, particularly, the dealerships are really open to this. So, you know, I'm doing one next week for at Old School up in Ellington. So that's going to be a different presentation. So if you're in the area, worth you making it up there too. All right, so I'm going to talk about cornering more, hopefully, probably more than many of you have really delved into in the past. I was talking to somebody here who's like training to be an MSF instructor. I was an MSF instructor for 25 years. There is so much more to learn past your basic rider course. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how much. And we're going to talk about that, sort of the attitude about learning. We're going to start off with that. Is that, you know, I've been riding for whatever. I think Jimmy Carter. No, Nixon was in the White House when I started riding. Yeah, I know. And but there's still opportunities for me to learn. You would think that would be, I would have tapped out at this point because of my experience. But it just isn't true. You know, there's just so much more. You can always find another level, which is one of the great things about motorcycling. Yes, it's a lifestyle thing. It's just something fun to do after work or on the weekends. But you can take it further. It's really up to you. This is just, I like to know whenever somebody's an expert, what they really are, what their credentials are. So this is sort of a pictorial of what I've done. To give you an idea, I wrote for Motorcyclist magazine for 5 years. I wrote for Motorcycle Consumer News for 14 years. I wrote these skills and safety column. And you guys subscribed to MCN back when it was alive? Not many people do because it was a subscription only. And it was kind of pricey back then, no ads, so that's why. My daughter, my wife, so it's in the family. I get shipped off to, this is Portugal, to test motorcycles sometimes. I have 2 books. These are here. I do have some for sale for later. MSF Instructor is my website, and that's the other book. And I'm also a track day instructor. Actually, I'm running track days now, which I'm going to talk about. So that sort of gives you an idea of what I do. With my current situation, ridinginthezone.com is the website. I have on-street training with real-time coaching, so we've got communicators. So I'm following you, it's follow and lead, and we do that. I do that up in the Berkshires, so up in western Massachusetts. I also do an advanced parking lot course, which is again bringing you to a much higher level than what you would get from, you know, your state program. So, and I have 4 of those scheduled this year. All the dates are on the website. Okay, and then we've got 2 track days, and they're non-sport bike track days. So, as a matter of fact, we're not even really calling them track days. We're calling them training days because that's what they are. When I use the word track day, everybody goes, "Oh, racetrack, I'm out. You know, that's it. I don't want any part of it." That's not what it is. It's a training day that happens on a controlled environment, on a controlled course. So everybody's going in the same direction. You repeat the corners over and over so you can practice the skills that we teach you in the classroom. So it's classroom, practice. Back in the classroom, practice. Okay? And we have 3 groups, so it's like we've got people on the sport touring bikes in one group. We've got the middle, you know, sort of mix of different bikes in the middle group. And then these would be in the group that would then be slower, not because of the rider, but because of the capabilities of the bike. That's really more the issue. All right. How many of you guys have scared yourself in a corner? I'm talking any time in your career. All right? My hand's up too. Those of you who didn't put your hands up, you're lying. So this is why I focus on cornering, is because depending on the year, depending on the region too, I think the last I forget what the statistic was that I just heard, was 42% of fatalities are single vehicle. Now, it's been as high as 70% in Oregon. 70% of their fatalities were single vehicle. Well, what's single vehicle? It's you in the corner. It's nothing to do with that SOB who crossed in front of you and all that. That's an issue, don't get me wrong. But focusing on just this topic is going to then really put you on the road for making it home safely at the end of the day. Now, the whole thing about drinking and riding, that whole thing, you're smart enough to know about the how difficult it is enough to ride and then get faced with a really challenging situation. And then on top of that, that you're inebriated or impaired in any way. That's sort of, I can't help you with that. That's on you. There's nothing I can do if you choose to do that. But there are things I can teach you when it comes to like just dealing with avoiding this sort of situation. All right? What's probably the first thing I'm going to mention? That's going to be a first thing that I want you to incorporate into your cornering.
Square off the handlebars. Braking.
Okay, slowing down. Now, it doesn't mean slow. Believe me, I love speed. Right? I'm a racetrack kind of guy. I race and all that. But the brakes and the slowing. How many of you have gone into a corner too slow and freaked yourself out? I mean, they can be too slow, like falling over too slow. I'm not talking about that. You go in a corner slow enough, and you're never going to freak out. You're going to make it through, right? 20 miles an hour around a 40-mile-an-hour corner? Who cares? Let's go the other way. Can you do 55 miles an hour around a 40-mile-an-hour corner? It's definitely doable. Probably most of us do that all the time. How about that 40-mile-per-hour corner, though, now tightens at the exit, and it's blind? How are you going to handle that? Can you handle that? I don't know. You probably don't know either. That's the problem. So, training has to be like the military. You train like way up here, and then you sit around and smoke cigarettes all day until you better have your training. That's motorcycle riding. So you train high, and then you ride normal down here, and if you're smart enough, you'll never need to use the skills, those really high skills. Okay, but you got to have them, because in the heat of battle, there's no thinking. You have to have this stuff in your muscle memory. How do you do that? Purposeful practice and practicing the right thing. So the argument oftentimes is, I've been riding 30 years, I don't need any training, I'm doing just fine. It's usually the case is you have 1 year of ability and skill repeated 30 times, because people don't train beyond their first, beyond their first year. And that's, it's human nature. You kind of think, well, I got this thing figured out. I've been riding for a year. I took the MSF class. We're good. I keep it between the painted lines, and we're good. I don't get scared too often. If you get scared at all, that's a sign, by the way. So I want to talk to you about specific things. I've made the mistake in the past of trying to teach too much stuff in one of these seminars, and it's just, everybody's head's exploding, and it just doesn't work. So I'm going to kind of focus on a couple of the points that I focus on with not only the parking lot, the street training, and the racetrack. Right? So we can avoid this kind of thing. So why do you think this rider, what are some reasons, because there's a lot of them, throw out some reasons why this rider maybe got into this situation.
Too fast.
All right, that's probably an obvious one.
And he's too
What else?
far left. I mean, he took it too wide.
Okay, so now you've got your lane position is an issue too. Okay, there could be target fixation. You freak out. What do? Human nature. You look at the problem. You got to train yourself to look at the solution. Who does that? Nobody, unless you're trained. Sorry, we're humans. That's what we do. We were born with that. You have to untrain yourself out of doing what makes sense as a human being, so that you don't kill yourself on a motorcycle. Okay. Very likely, we end up with obviously he lost traction. but he might have actually levered the bike off the ground too.
Yeah.
Now, it might be that he had a lot of skill, but not a lot of brains. Right? Like he said, I love leaning my bike in, okay, drag the floorboards, that's fun, that's cool. Oh wow, this corner's tightening up, oh man. And then there's no place to go. Now, you can slow in a corner, you know, that's doable. A lot of people freak out though, and then you need to not lose traction and slow in a corner takes a lot of fine motor skill. You don't have fine motor skill if you're panicky. Who does? Again, you're humans. This is just how we are. All right? How do you avoid that? Well, that is now, try not to get yourself in this situation. But again, as I said before, you train up to here. That's why racetrack training is the best. Because it's not like you're speed and all that. It's just that you start to really understand the capabilities of your bike and your tires. And you don't really get that on the street, not safely. So again, I'm going to be pushing that because it's that important. But there are a lot of opportunities. Don't think I'm just pushing that. All right, so we're going to talk about basically these three things, just to keep it simple. We've already sort of chatted about number 1 and mentioned a little bit about number 3. But let's just going to keep it simple. Here's my mantra. Enter a turn slower than you exit. Okay? If you go into a turn, if you charge into a corner too fast so that you're trailing the throttle, you're coasting, decelerating all the way around the corner, you came into the corner too fast. For you. Just accept it. It could be for the bike, you're now dragging everything. That's just the smart part. He said you have to use the judgment so that you come into that corner at a speed that allows you to then accelerate through the corner and exit faster than you entered. That's kind of the basic rule. Okay? Do you need to brake for the corner every time? Hell no. So slow can be both brakes. It can be deceleration. It can then be like a harder braking situation, which we'll talk about with trail braking, where your timing, you might have the corner kind of snuck up on you. You still have to slow. So now it's both brakes a little firmer. Now downshifts happen just to match your engine speed to the road speed. Now, is downshifting and engine braking an acceptable way to slow your motorcycle? Yeah, sure. But I'm not talking about downshift. That's not good technique. But you remember, all you're really doing when you get the bike to shift down is so that you're ready to accelerate. Okay? So people say, well, what gear should I be in turn 2? It's like, the right gear. Your bike's different than mine. Somewhere in the middle of the rev range, we'll give it to you. More aggressive riding, a little bit to the higher end of the rev range. Okay, so that is the most basic thing. We can almost move on now. All right? So this is a judgment thing. You can't really judge a corner very well if you're impaired, right? Now you think you can. I know, I get it. Also, if you have some sort of visual issue, and that comes with aging. I see all you guys are young bucks and women here. You're all like, yeah, we're all good. I got to tell you, you got to pay attention to that aging thing. So you have to be able to see, but how you see is something that I work on with students all the time. Vision is one of the biggest things. So you have to be able to see what's the issue way before it happens, so that you can predict the future. So that you don't have to use those massive emergency braking skills that you've trained for. All right? Good riders can do it, but don't have to do it. All right? What I mean by it is whatever the advanced skill is. All right, so this is associated with slowing for the corner, and it's trail braking. How many of you have heard of the term? Yeah, there was a time when nobody would have raised their hand. So now it's become more of a, at least you've heard of the term. Would anybody dare to describe it in like really one short sentence?
Plant your front tire.
That's a result of it. It's a benefit of it. Tell me what it is. I've never heard of it before. Anybody want to take a stab at that?
Keeping pressure on the brake until you transition to the throttle.
Okay. Can you tell me about a little timing, Andrew?
Sure. You brake hard when you're more or less straight up, and you progressively let off the throttle until you get back on the gas. So
Let off the brake.
Always low.
Right. So you let off the brake, but you brake into the turn, which is different than braking in the turn. When you brake in the turn, it means you like went, oops, I'm in too fast, and then you have to brake while you're already lean. Trail braking is a planned technique that just makes slowing for the corner less dramatic, right? It gives you time and space to adjust your entry speed by keeping the brakes on lightly, maybe halfway around the corner, depends on the corner. Not every corner is a trail braking corner. Remember, not every corner is even a braking corner. But there are some I'll talk about that are good examples. So what Andrew was talking about is, and I know Andrew from the racetrack, so he knows all about this, is the reason to do it, and there was one benefit, was to load the front tire while you're turning, okay? Now, if you took the basic rider course, the MSF course, they teach you pretty much to approach the corner, brake for the corner slow, get off the brakes, and then turn. You separate those two. So I understand why they do that for beginners, because they can't really walk and chew gum at the same time at that point. So it makes sense that they're just trying to build the most basic motor skills, but the day they leave that course, they should be trail braking, because you're doing it, most people do it anyhow, but they don't know that they're doing it. And it's not thought about, it's not done well, and it can get you into trouble. All right. So let's just define it even better, even more. So this is a diagram. This is a Mohawk Trail hairpin up in the Berkshires. I'm coming this way. This is a pretty steep downhill. So the red is slowing. The orange is transitioning, and then the green is going. Okay? Pretty simple. But notice how long I'm braking. And now I'm transitioning. This is a steep downhill. What happens to your motorcycle when you accelerate? You're in a corner and you start to accelerate. Straightens up, right? Do I want the bike to straighten up right here? No. Hell no. I'll be in the restaurant over here ordering lunch. So no, I have to, gravity would accelerate me. So whether it's your throttle or whether it's gravity, the bike is going to want to, you're essentially communicating with the bike, telling it that you're done turning, because you're off the brakes and you're starting to accelerate. That's not the case here. Again, especially for a downhill. So I have to carry the brakes around the corner. Now, I don't want to slow too much. And when I work with people and they've really never trail braked before, everybody slows down too much, because you're used to getting all your braking done here. So your intensity of your braking is harder than you need it to be. Another benefit of trail braking. You're spreading out the time and space to get the bike slowed to the entry speed. Okay? So your braking is lighter and longer. Big benefit. So at this point here, I don't want to slow down too much. The front brake is your power brake. If I were on the front brake and rear brake all the way to here, I'd probably be going too slow, unless I'm really, really light on that front brake. Which is fine, I do that, but instead what I do is about here, I start to taper off the front brake, but I stay on the rear brake to just finish up right here. And now I'm transitioning right to the throttle. This area here, I try to minimize any point in the corner where I'm doing nothing. So instead of just trailing the throttle or decelerating all the way around there, your bike is unstable when it's decelerating like that. It wants to be driven. Even if it's a little bit, you want that load to be on that rear tire, and that's why your bike stands up when you get on the gas, is because the load shift, it pitches rearward, you get less load on the front tire, and all that is designed into the bike. Get on the gas, the bike stands up, all right? And that's what I want it to do here. Gradually, I don't want it to stand up and go off that way, so everything is smooth and tapered. No spikes in your inputs or in your load. Okay? The other thing which was mentioned earlier about loading the front tires. So when we back up here, and if I'm applying the brakes, what happens to my suspension? Compresses your pitch forward, right? That loads the front tire. Do you have more traction with a loaded tire or less traction? More. Now you've got more load on the front tire to help you to turn, and so it's got that load. It's like pressing into the pavement, and now you can give that counter steering press, and the thing hooks up beautifully. You try to do that on the gas, and it's vague. It's not loaded, right? It's almost like steering your car on ice. You load it, now you've got the thing is responsive, all right? Just by decelerating, you're doing that, okay? But when you add trail braking in, it's just more, and it gives you a little bit more load to then help, turn it in. However, there's always too much of a good thing. If you're braking hard, the bike won't want to turn. So trail braking is light braking. I mean, it's firm, moderate braking, tapered. As you lean more, you release the brakes. Because remember, I can't be in a corner and just grab the brakes. I would lose traction. So as you increase lean angle, you have to release brake pressure. So it's exactly like this. Now on the racetrack, I'm on my knee at 100 miles an hour. I'm dragging, I'm off like this. If I were to do anything abrupt at all, boom, that front tire's gone. So on the street, we're not at that level, but the technique is exactly the same. Bring yourself on a rainy surface, right? Slippery, rainy. Trail braking is actually quite good. It's just that you do everything softer, right? You brake even earlier, you brake even lighter, okay? But the dynamics are the same. I want that load on the front tire. Anything I'm missing, Andrew?
The only thing that I would add is subjectively, the feel of trail braking is lighter than you think. When I first started trail braking on the track, I thought it was about slowing, and I was really worried about the rear end coming around. But once I figured it out, it's just one finger, two fingers, really light, and by the time you're transitioning, you're off entirely. So that mindset of I'm not slowing the bike down, I'm just settling it in.
So it can, like if you were coming in pretty fast into a downhill turn, you've got to slow the bike against gravity too, right? Because that's a steep downhill. So you're going to use firmer braking, and you might brake a little earlier. So there is firm braking, but as Andrew said, this whole part here is like holding a baby chick.
Yeah.
It's light, right? It's light. So it's firm to get yourself to slow, but at this point now it's baby chick all the way around, and now I'm starting to transition to the throttle. Yep.
What's the percentage of front and rear braking?
So I do, on the street, keep it simple, both brakes, just both brakes. Because there's a whole other thing about, well, I mentioned the rear brake out here. Every bike's going to be a little different. That there's I have a 10 700, the rear brake is, I don't even know why they even put it on the bike. So I'm working on that to get it better. So in that case, I actually put more pressure on the rear pedal than I do on the front lever. But a different bike would be different, right? So, but as far as the technique goes, both brakes. On the street, both brakes. It's just, and I'll tell you why, the rear brake settles the bike. All right? Yeah.
Linked, if your bike has linked.
Linked brakes are still progressive. I mean, they're, what do you call it? Yeah, proportional, right? And they're doing better with that even. Early ones kind of sucked. Now they're a lot better. And even, I think, BMW shuts off that linked thing below a certain miles per hour, so that when you do tight U-turns, you can do just rear brake. So that's a big plus.
So that'll be coming into the corner, trail braking. If it's linked, can you just use the front brake, or
Can,
you can?
but
I would still, I would still use your rear brake because you want to settle the chassis. You don't remember when you're going into a turn, you don't want to disrupt your chassis. That's your worst scenario.
so you are getting rear brake pressure, just not as much as you would if you use both brakes. So again, and also technique. Just it's the right technique. And so train yourself correctly. Because we can always now, especially say, well, technology will take care of that for me. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it correctly, because you're still going to get the best benefit if you did it correctly. And ABS is an example of that. I'll talk about this up in Ellington next week. But ABS is an example. Now, statistically, if something happens, you just go for it. Grab those brakes. Let ABS do the best it can. But you're not going to get the best, shortest stopping distance if you do that, because the tire didn't have that time to load. So it's going to almost immediately go to ABS. And you guys experienced ABS, especially if you're ridden off-road? It seems like it accelerates. It doesn't, but it's like the tire is doing up, 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 instead of full brakes to get yourself slowed down. All right, so that's an example of that. So same thing with the link brakes. When you use both brakes, you're going to get the full effect, of getting that rear tire to kind of settle the bike. Okay. Again, I'll talk more about the dynamics of braking, more next week. But I'm trying to get you guys to come up next week too. Let's see. So yeah, and I will say that when you're going downhill, I'll say one more thing about brakes. When you're going downhill, if you use the rear brake first and then the front brake, it settles the bike. Keeps it from pitching so much. So if you hit that rear brake for a little bit just before, it's like rear front, not rear front. It's really rear front. You get that chassis to hunker down, and then that front brake, the whole chassis stays more hunkered. All right? Now, excuse me. Now, again, I'm saying here I'm on the rear brake still. Why is that? Because it really helps keep the bike slow. Once I can actually fine-tune my, not only my speed here, but my direction. So remember, using the brakes, even if I'm off the front, the bike's still, it's already in its full lean. If I have the rear brake just pressed lightly, and it is light, the bike it keeps the bike pivoting around that rear contact patch. It's great. Now, I ride excuse me, I'm lucky enough to ride in Europe a lot with beaches, motorcycle adventures, if anybody wants to talk about that. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. And that sort of scenario is the tight alpine roads, the tight hairpins that can even come back on themselves. And they're downhill, they're steep, like Stelvio. So it's steep, 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 I'm braking, and I'm still braking. Because again, it's very steep. At this point, I'm at my speed, I don't want to go any slower. I'm off the front brake, and I'm on the rear brake. That bike is still needing to come around. I will dab that rear brake, and it just keeps it tight. All right? Try it. I have a video. I want you to watch this rider's brake light. Okay? Watch it carefully. We'll do it again and I'll point out. Hard to see, I know.
Okay.
Still on, still on, still on. Off. Still on. Corner ends, you can get off the brakes. Once the corner is done, you taper off. You get off the brakes.
So,
Watch this one. Brakes, 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 brakes. Look how far. Now he's off the brakes. He's able to control the bike, not only the speed, but also the direction control using the brakes. So the brakes aren't only for slowing and stopping. I think this is a good corner. Watch it. Okay. Again, the corner's done. Go ahead, get off the brakes. Okay. He tapered off those brakes. Even though the brake light goes on and off, that's just the switch, right? But he's doing that baby chick thing. As he goes in, he's releasing smoothly too. And I saw Andrew over there doing 2 fingers. If you brake with 2 fingers, now you have full control of the throttle, that you then actually do a little transition. So instead of it being binary, off the brakes, on the throttle, you're kind of releasing the brakes while you're getting on the throttle. Buttery smooth. Your passenger will thank you, right? No helmet bonking. Yeah.
Is he starting to accelerate there? Because it seems like it comes off the brake before the apex.
It depends on the corner, remember. So once the corner is done, whether he doesn't need any more direction control with the rear brake, then off you go, right? So every corner is different. Remember that if you have a corner that kind of comes in and then immediately it's an increasing radius turn, your trail brake will just kind of happen there and you're off, right? One that comes around and it's a decreasing radius turn, like an on-ramp, it's brake, 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 not yet, stay on the brake, stay on the brake, stay on the brakes. Okay, now you can transition off, all right? All right, so here's another, this starts talking about cornering lines. So we just now talked about trail braking so that you will slow for the corner, enter the turn slower than you exit, okay? Or exit the turn faster than you enter, whichever way you want to think of that. On the street, cornering lines are critical. They're way more critical than people think. Most riders ride like car drivers, meaning they stay between the lines, follow the contour of the lines just the way the engineers did it, and pretty much don't divert from anywhere, maybe 2 feet left or right of the center of the lane. I'm not talking about surface hazards, I'm just talking about, in general. However, you've got the full width of your lane, of a single track vehicle, is you've got the full width of the lane to work with, and there's advantages to that. Right? Again, first thing I'm going to say right away, because I get this all the time, is, well, what if there's a car coming? Well, don't do it. You know, be smart. You know, this is an optional technique. Sometimes it's not very optional, but you know, you can get away with staying in the middle of the lane. If in doubt, stay in the middle of the lane. Just get through it. Don't kill yourself. If you have the opportunity, this is what you want to do. And when it comes to cornering lines, the most basic cornering line, and the MSF teaches it even, is the outside entry, okay? Why do you want an outside entry? By outside, I mean if it's a right-hand turn, I want to be as far out here as I can, not inside like this for a right-hand turn, okay? Why would I want to do that? What are some reasons to do that?
See what's coming the other way.
Okay. Widens the radius. What's that?
See more of the corner.
Visual angle of view. On the street, that's actually your number one, is your angle of view. Because we have blind turns and we've got hazards in the road that the earlier we can see them, the easier and we can manage them. So if I'm over here and it's a blind turn, there's always bushes here, I can't see around that corner nearly as well as if I'm over here. It's just like if you're in the supermarket, right? Walk down the aisles, you know, you're going to take a turn. It's not a bad idea to give a little peek around the corner. It's common sense. So you can do that on a motorcycle, if it's safe to do so. If there's crap in the road, you have to come up with the plan B, which is to just get through it, all right? So this is a left-hand turn. This is actually the same corner as before. Now notice this is my target. That's more my kind of my turn-in target. Yes, I'm leaning. So I'm turning in back here. But this is where I'm making a more definitive turn. On the racetrack, we kind of call it a V point. So where the turn is, instead of it being just a smooth U, you kind of bring it out and then you kind of make it a slight V. For the reason of getting yourself over here pointed to safety. Okay? So the alternative is, if I were to turn in, like see, here's my apex. Now the apex, it's a whole other conversation, but is the innermost part of the turn. All right? So it's if you do an outside, inside, outside path that opens the radius, right? You've now made your radius bigger. Instead of following the middle of the lane, you've got this radius. Well, look at what I've got here. I've opened it up. This is a bigger radius. If I had a circle here and I overlaid it, this would be a bigger circle. You use less lean angle that way. Lean angle is risk. Okay? So that's a big advantage. But what I'm looking at when I'm following people on the street, I'm looking for where they end up at the exit. If you're out here and having to turn a second time just to stay in your lane, you turned in too early. I have some examples of that. But just before I change, if this target was here, I would end up coming in here and then I would end up out here. Okay? I'm planning my corner back here to be at this point here, if safe to do so. If there's a truck right here, I'm going to slow it down in the middle of the turn because I'm looking through the turn. I'm going to kind of not get on the gas quite so early I'm already slowing. That's another advantage I'm going to talk about trail braking. But this is where I want to be. Not pointed here, pointed here. All right? And the trail braking, the other advantage we didn't talk about with trail braking is, see, I'm still on the brakes. If I'm over here and something like is in the road, or if there's a big truck who's running wide, I'm still on the brakes. I haven't tapered off of them fully. So the load of the tire is still consistent, and so that if I'm on like the last 3% of my brakes, which maybe be about where you are, about here, about 3%, and then tapering off to 0, right in here. If I'm at 3% and I have to slow down, I haven't released the brakes and then have to get back on them. That's going to surely, especially if you're panicked, it's going to load that front tire and touch your front tire. But you're already on the brakes. All you have to do is squeeze them a little more. All right? And then you manage whatever is coming, whatever you didn't see back here that is appearing over here. Does it make sense? All right.
Do you also have a delayed apex too?
Exactly. Delayed turn-in and delayed apex. The delayed apex is all the way over here. This is why I wish I had a whiteboard. The apex of a turn, let me get over here. The apex of there's a geometric apex, which is if I have two circles, one is larger than the other, where, like this is a circle and this is a bigger circle, where they meet, if I were to move them off center, that's the apex, where they touch. The theoretical apex is the one that I'm making up. The geometric apex in this case would be right here, right? If I'd taken this circle and moved it out to this circle and moved it over, they would touch about in the middle. If I were to apex there, I'm over here. And I have to turn a second time to get myself in my lane. So I'm moving that apex, I'm taking that circle, and I'm moving it down so that it's touching here. Right? Generally speaking, this is something I don't hear anybody writing about or talking about. I wish I could trademark it. Is the apex is just before the straightaway. It's that far around the corner. That's what this is.
And what's a double apex?
A double apex is when we don't usually do those very much on the street unless you have a corner, straightaway corner, where you would go into an apex, come back out, and come back in. If this had a little bit of a straightaway here, I'd probably go in here, apex here, come back out, and then come to this apex here. That's a double apex. Okay. If you know a road, if you know the road you're on, it's more of a planned type of line. But again, it's usually when it's a corner, straightaway corner. Okay. Any questions so far?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you talk about using your eyes to identify where that apex is?
So what, I'm going to shoot that to you.
Okay, so when you're going around a corner, you don't really know exactly where that apex is going to be unless you're looking ahead. So just what I do personally is I'm halfway around the corner and I'm looking through the corner and I'm looking for the exit. On the track, for example, at the end of your straight line there would be an exit code.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be looking for. So when the road starts to open up, then I can see where the apex is. And it's exactly what you said, right before it. Is that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I teach with the street training is to recognize, to read the road. Okay. This is obviously a drone shooting straight down. This is a diagram. In real life, we have perspective. So when you come into a corner, and let's say it's a 90-degree corner, it's going to look like you're facing a wall, right? The corner comes in here, and then it makes a right-hand turn. As you come around the corner, that changes. And now it opens up, you can open your throttle. When that visual edge of the road is across from you, even at an angle like this, that means you have to slow. As it opens up to a straightaway, then you can accelerate. Yeah. But reading the road is what Andrew's talking about. Vision is key. Yeah.
I watch a lot of videos, and they talk on one of them a little bit about the vanishing point. And how the vanishing point is always moving, and you should always be focusing on that particular vanishing point. Because you're getting closer to that vanishing point, you're getting away.
So what is the vanishing point?
The vanishing point, as far as you can see on that road, and as you keep going around, that vanishing point gets further away, you get closer.
Okay,
Keep
right.
your
The
eyes on that vanishing point. You're looking through that. and it's a
Good.
training.
While also scanning for road hazards, of course.
Right, well, you can see everything in between as you're looking at that vanishing
Exactly.
point.
So the vanishing point is, this is a straightaway for you guys, like this. There's your vanishing point. This is like middle of Utah, right? Monument Valley. There's your vanishing point. Oh, there's a corner. Where's your vanishing point? Visually, it's back here, right? If it goes this way, then it's all the way up here. So it changes, it moves. As you come into the corner and the corner ends and then the road straightens, it's going to then open up and you open the stop. All right. Anybody been in this situation? Anybody hasn't been in this situation? You're lying. I'll tell you right now, just forget it. Everybody's blowing a corner like this. This is an example of somebody turning in too early. There's a lot of reasons why this could have happened. But likely, this is on the Appalachian Gap up in Vermont. Pretty tight. That rider wants to be right here. Right? Our apex is at the beginning of the straightaway. That's a straightaway right here. Even though it pitches into another switchback, that's the straightaway. So this is where he would want to be. Away from oncoming traffic for sure, but pointed to safety, to the next corner. Where's he pointed? He's pointed to the weeds. Thankfully there's no car coming. So, and you see how he's on the brakes now? That's braking in a corner. That's I screwed up. I'm trying to save my ass. It's too late. I kind of screwed up. At this point here, he's going to brake. He's probably going to maybe run along the yellow line. But again, for the car coming and all that, he blew this way back here. Okay, for visual reasons, for slowing reasons, maybe, but definitely for the turn in. He probably turned in back here, and he ended up out there. All right. It's a little scary. If there are any squeamish people here, you may want to look away. This is in the Alps this past summer.
Oh, yikes.
Okay. This video shows two really great things. If you guys didn't see that, then you're lucky to have you. I'm sure you saw it. Let me play it again. Okay, so it sets up wide. Now, no car coming, okay. This is me. I'm riding right here. I choose not to go out in the oncoming lane because I just like the challenge of, I've done it. If I've been really ripping through these things and I see there's nobody coming, I might cheat, but he's setting up wide. That's a good thing. He's doing the right thing here. Okay, watch how early he turns in compared to me. See, I'm way out here.
I get it now.
Did you see that? Now, did you notice also where I am? Where do I want to be?
Inside.
Why did I go out there? Target fixation.
You were looking at him.
I was also trying to get him on video. Okay, so watch it again. Watch where he turns in. Watch where his apex is. Okay? So you can see where he's pointed. So the apex back here, and where is he going to go? Obviously. He would have to have made a pretty assertive counter steer right here to stay in his lane. All right? But he didn't have that in him. And he froze. I mean, we're human, you know, you get in a situation, don't be surprised if you freeze. Again, where I'm turning, I'm already, see how far out I am? My goal is right here. Because I was watching him, I ended up out here. Not the end of the world, but, you know, that's my excuse and I'm sticking with it. Okay. Which rider is handling this corner more successfully?
The one in front.
Because again, he stayed wide, and now he's pointed more or less this way. This guy's going to have to go through here slower and just follow the radius of the painted lines, essentially. This guy's in a safer position than this person if there's an oncoming car. There's just lots of reasons to do the outside entry if you're pointed to safety. Another guy in the Alps who I've been working with, and he apexed too early. Look at how far out he is. This is a 2-lane road, by the way. Oh yeah. How many guys have ridden in the Alps? Yeah, a couple of you. Do yourself a favor. There's some crazy, crazy roads that are like 2 lanes. Are you kidding me? So this guy here, he's doing okay, right? He's going to stay in his lane. But where does he want to be? There's a target here. Can you see it? Tell me where I would want to be.
Closer to the right.
I actually want to be right out here, right there. Maybe there. The straightaway starts right there. I want to be right here. In Europe, they actually put these posts in strategically that actually, it's not foolproof, but there's usually a post at a delayed apex. Okay, smart. So, he kind of turned in a little sluggishly. He didn't necessarily turn it early, but he didn't get the bike turned at the V point as assertively as he should have. To again, get himself here and point it this way. As it is, he's pointed that way. Okay? So these are small things that when you need that buffer, that margin, you better be in the right position. Because here's a truck coming the other way in your lane. You're not going to probably get yourself over here if that truck suddenly appears and he's halfway in your lane. So you're always putting yourself in a position to be away from hazards. Again, if there was gravel here and all that, plan B. Right? Always considering that. Which one of these riders is actually, well, I'll back this up. This rider's in the correct place, okay? Which one of these 3 riders is actually going to end up, give or take, about in the right place, pointed down the road?
Third driver.
Counting me, 'cause
The guy right in front of you. Guy in front? Yeah.
Okay, which one?
The guy right in front of you.
Yep.
The brake.
He's got the wide angle, right? He's got the widest entry, so he has a good chance of doing it. How about this guy?
Yeah, no,
Too far.
He's okay. If he gives the counter steer at the V point. Right? If you're a little sluggish with your counter steer, it's possible that he's going to go wide.
Definitely.
But he's in a good position to get the bike turned and pointed down here. But it has to be at the V point. And it's not crazy, it's just you get in there and go, okay, now. And you drop it into the lean.
That would be a little more severe for that guy, though, wouldn't it? I mean, he waited a little too long.
Maybe a little, depends on the person. I would go out, I would probably be a little bit more like out, it's still about the right place. But then I know I can get the bike from here to there without even like thinking about it. This guy,
He's going into the
he's in
oncoming
big
lane.
trouble, right? He's going to end up having to brake out here if he's going fast at all, or he's definitely going to have to turn a second time to just stay in his lane. All right. So this is what I see when I'm following students. All right. So you can see right here, just by you're now smarter by being here to be able to see how this is going to play out. Because this is like obviously this isn't dynamic. But the dynamic, you can imagine what's going to happen here, and what each rider is going to, how they're going to succeed. This guy is already on the gas. He was probably on the gas back here. Now I'm dragging my rear brake around here. Again, now back to the trail braking. I'm braking. This is actually pretty steep, downhill. I'm braking, slowing down. He's got his brake lights on. I am still on the brakes. I'm on the rear brake right about here because I don't need to slow anymore at that point. I'm tapered off the front, and I'm carrying the rear brake to keep myself tight. Because again, that corner's going like this, and it's still downhill. And then it comes back on itself. So I need it to hook. All right?
Was that single file or were they side by side? Now?
Single file. So when it comes to cornering like this, single file. You know, I don't know if you guys do group rides and stuff, but staggered is only really, that's a whole other thing. You guys do what you want. It just makes sense to be single file when it's considered. You should be able to use the full width of your lane. Put it that way. If you can't, then somebody's riding too close. Okay, again, a diagram. The blue rider is in trouble. The red rider is doing it correctly. Oh, so why? What do you see here that the blue rider is doing incorrectly?
It's turning too early.
Okay. Well, actually, they're both on the same exact path to that point. So the divergence is there. So what was wrong? What did the blue rider do incorrectly at that point?
Stood the bike up.
He didn't straighten out.
So he straightened out too early. He needed to bring the bike around the corner farther. So remember we talked about outside, inside, outside? All right, they're both doing an outside entry. Good. Inside, see the apex is around the corner at the beginning of the straightaway. This is the straightaway. But this rider, the red rider, looked ahead and saw that this was going to be a switchback. So instead of outside, inside, outside, which is what the blue rider did, it's outside, inside, inside, turns into outside for the next corner. Blue rider needed to hang in there and make the turn and keep it tight and longer. But guess what? It just compounds. If you don't fix it here, this is where they'd have to fix it. Most people can't do that at that point. Your momentum, the bike's headed that way, you know, and you're braking in the middle of a turn. It's just a mess. All right, but if you don't fix it, you have the risk of, you know, hitting here. By the way, when it comes to cornering, people don't crash in this part of the corner. They don't crash in this part of the corner. They crash at the exit because you kind of make it through, kind of, until damn, you screwed up way back here. All right, and you don't see damaged guardrails in the middle of the turn generally. It's always at the exit. You know? And then if the blue rider doesn't fix it, it just compounds. It just gets worse. This is now more dynamic. Now we're looking at the vanishing points, right? These arrows are pointing to the apex.
Where you want to be.
Around the corner, each corner, at the beginning of the straightaway. There's a straightaway right here.
See how it's almost a straight line.
Right here's the straightaway. Okay, so I'm coming around and setting up wide. I'm hitting this painted line here. I'm letting it come out wide so that I can hit that the yellow line. No cars coming, remember. There's a car coming just middle of the lane. And now I'm going to let it come out here because I want to come around pointed to safety so that then I can come around pointed to safety. All right? That's how it looks through your helmet. Here's what it actually looks through your helmet, because it's a blind turn. The apex is there, you just can't see it. How do I know it's there? Well, I know there's going to be an innermost part of the turn, because I want there to be. I want to have be an outside entry come in toward the inside. So it's going to be along the guardrail. Where exactly, I don't know. However, I am going to start moving my way toward it, so I'm going to do it gradually. If it then tightens up, I then do that assertive countersteer and get myself in. If it's a big open turn, then I just sort of move my way into the inside. I might not ever get to the guardrail. I might end up just in the right portion of my lane. That's good. You're actually still moving and pointing your bike safely. Even if you don't get to the very edge of the road, that's not the point. So this is sequential. The next slide, that's the apex. You can see how I'm now moving right toward it. This is one of my favorite roads. I'll actually go so close to this, I feel like my shoulder's going to drag along the guardrail. One day I came around here, there was a turkey right there. So what did I do then?
Plan B.
Let's plan C then.
Brought over a turkey.
What do you think I did? Imagine yourself coming around the corner. You got this all sorted out. You're hitting perfectly. You're starting to get on the gas. Turkey.
You had turkey for dinner.
Dinner.
Turkey dinner? Drumstick or
It's
away?
going to end up, I will, if I have to, feather off the throttle. If I have to slow, I don't necessarily have to slow. Necessarily. If it stays there, I'm just going to ease off the throttle, and I'm going to counter steer and swerve around it, and off I go, which is what I did. All right? Now, if it starts to get in the way, I have to know how to stop quickly in a curve. We're going to talk about that next weekend.
Yeah, sometimes like deer, if you see a deer, slow down because there's always another one that's gonna come out. Same thing.
Yep. That's predicting when you see a hazard, you have to be able to read and predict what could be a problem that's associated with that obvious problem. All right? Construction sites is another thing. You see, you have to slow down for a bucket loader in the road. Well, don't fixate on the bucket loader and then miss the gravel. Right? Okay, here's another video. This is me going up Mount Greylock. I bring my students up here to practice hairpinning. So here's a sharp hairpin. To help orient you, my GoPro is on my left handlebar. So my tire is right here. Okay. See how far wide I'm set up? This is an off camber. So as soon as I can start to move in toward the apex, I see there's no car coming. I'm going to move myself over. All I really did was middle of the lane. That's fine, you know, because I couldn't quite tell if there was a car coming. So I'm not going to carve the inside if I don't know there's not a car coming. Here's a right-hand turn. My target is right there, along the grass. So I'm staying wide, and then I'm starting to work my way around. My V point is going to be out here, and I'm going to get that bike tight. This is uphill, so I'm not braking. So I'm using that throttle to do the slowing. However, I believe it was this video, I actually tapped the rear brake right here against the throttle. So I needed to get on the gas because of the hill, right? But if I'd gone on the gas too hard, it's going to drive me out to the oncoming lane. The bike, maybe, you know, anybody have a bike that's a little jerky with the throttle? Right? You're in the middle of the turn, and you get on it and it sort of jerks. Your bike suddenly is like 2 feet to the left of where you wanted it to be. The rear brake stops that. You can actually brake against the throttle and fine-tune that line going up the hill. All right, so setting up wide, I'm looking at that vanishing point. All the way up at the very top. No car coming, I'm good to go, I'm on the gas. Apex is right here. I'm staying wide. There's going to be an apex even on a bend in a road like this. And there it is. And now when I see the right-hand turn, I'm going to work my way across the lane. See, my tire is right here. Decelerate, and I downshift it as well. I'm leaning over, see how you can almost see me drop the bike in a little tighter. You get right there. Okay? Then you see now here the road winds. This is kind of useful too. I'm moving from the yellow line to the white line. I'm using the whole width of the lane. I'm in the yellow line, white line right now. I'm decelerating. I'm coming up the hill. I move across, and now I'm here to set up for the right hand. Okay? So it's dynamic. I'm always using the width of the lane. No car coming, so use it, right? Car coming, middle of the lane, or even away from the oncoming lane, especially on a really narrow road like this. Any questions? This is all about your cornering line, just the position in your lane. All right. talked a little bit about counter steering. This is my last like 6 slides because they're just hitting the other things that you need to know. I wanted to focus on those 3 things because this is an advanced class. This is basic. If you don't understand counter steering, come see me after, and I have a little test that will blow your mind if you don't understand counter steering. And it requires you sitting on a motorcycle, so you have to do that. Counter steering is how you get your bike from upright to lean. Can you do it with your body? I couldn't. I couldn't get this. I could get it to drift. I could hang off it like a racer and the thing would start to drift. That's not turning. Turning has to happen through the handlebars. That's the only way I could get that bike to turn. And counter steering is upsetting the balance of the bike deliberately. So I'm going along. I want the bike to go this way. I have to lean it that way. It has to lean in the direction you're going. I'm going to have a controlled fall. That's what counter steering is. All right. So if I turn it this way, the contact patch steers out there. It's like a broomstick. If I go the broomstick this way, it goes that way. I want the point of that broomstick in my palm to go that way so that I can go that way. So the front contact patch goes that way, and then I fall into the corner. That's it, baby. There's a little bit of an out-track thing going, but you don't even have to think about that. Yeah.
A few of my rider acquaintances had trouble in turns where they'd actually kind of solid through.
It's called 50 pensing.
Pardon me?
50 pensing. If you know what a 50 pence is, it's an octagon.
Well, what I described to him is that if you put more pressure, you control the turn with the hand that's in the inside of the turn, and the other hand is controlling. I mean, it's there for stability, but you push on that handlebar, and it'll carry you through the turn.
Yep.
You get to the next, you go to the inside with the left.
That's right.
And it took a model off for me. I really appreciate it.
Are they here in this class? Makes a great gift.
25?
So that's exactly right. This is one of the things where actually, this is part of my wrap up, is that we all have friends who we know should be here. Right? We all have them. You wish they were here, but they didn't, whatever. There's an attitude about that. And some people it's just a challenge for them to come to place things like this. And, whatever. But I don't say you have a responsibility because you don't. But you almost by default, you're on a ride with somebody who's about to kill themselves. What are you going to do? You either say, I'm not riding with you anymore, which is probably a smart thing to do anyhow. Or you try to help them steer them in the right direction. And you can throw me under the bus if you want and say, hey, I went to the seminar and Ken said this. And they're like, he's full of shit. Well, try it. I haven't tried to go. But good for you that you're trying to coach him through that. Now, I'll show you the trick, though, about how to prove counter steering works afterwards. Here's another thing. We all have a lean angle limit. It's inbred. There's a book called The Upper Half of the Motorcycle. It's a really hard book to get through because it's very technical. I did the foreword to it, so you can read that. Hopefully that you'll understand that. I couldn't understand the rest of the book myself. I wrote the foreword. He says, 14 degrees. Humans are comfortable leaning at 14 degrees and no more out of the womb. Because that's what we can run in a circle. That's what we need is 14 degrees to run as fast as we can in a circle.
Okay.
Horse is the same thing. Sort of physics. Do we have to lean more than 14 degrees when we ride a motorcycle?
Oh, yeah.
What's the max lean on these things? Is it? 35.
35 degrees,
Right?
yeah.
35 degrees. You have to unlearn what is actually normal for you. You have to train yourself to do something that's not normal. All Right? Now, luckily, if you rode a bicycle as a kid, you've kind of started to figure this out. If you skied, snowboarded, did anything like athletic like that, you know, you can start to get a better feel for it. A lot of people have a real problem, especially new riders. Right? Anybody have a passenger on the back of their bike who's never been on a motorcycle before? Oh yeah. What happens when you get into a first tight turn?
They go that way.
It's like, I'm good, 14 degrees. 16 degrees? 18, oh my God, we're gonna die. So that's just why, right? Well, we have that too. And so we have to go beyond that. Here's another thing is that this is 35 degrees. Do you think you'll ever need 40 degrees?
Yep.
No, there are times, unless you are really respect that motorcycle and you go into the turns quite a bit slower than me on my bike, you'll be fine. But if you get in there a little hot, and if you're not comfortable dragging your floorboards, that's a problem. You're going to go wide. You're going to panic, you're going to grab the brakes, maybe hit the guardrail.
On a bike like that, when you lose traction, what's the...
Don't lose traction. That's my tip. So here's where we start talking about the track day and stuff, is that you bring this bike on the track. This is what we aim for as people that ride these bikes. Does anybody have a tip I could give somebody on a bike like this to keep them from dragging the floorboards as much as they do? I know you know. What can I do to this motorcycle, on this motorcycle, that will give me more ground clearance or angle clearance?
You lean yourself.
All right. So you can't do anything about the bike. It's 35 degrees, right? That's all I do. If I'm in a corner and I'm leaning with the bike and I start dragging my floorboards, all right, there I am. If I go like this,
Yeah. That's why you see the race, you get to wait for it.
you got a story? No? You don't want to share?
Actually, that was a great day. Once I learned that, it was great. Engineering.
That's it. So, track day, possible, or what do you call it?
Success.
Yeah. She's a convert. Okay? This is where, the track day is, you take your bike out and you repeat the laps over the day. You'll do 100 miles on the racetrack, and you'll repeat the same corners, and we'll talk to you. I'll show you how to do it. You'll go out and practice, and you'll realize that you're now going through the corner the same speed you were, safer. You're not leaning as much. You're not dragging parts and maybe levering yourself off the road. Okay? But it feels unusual. It feels really weird the first time you do it. We have a photographer at the track days, and more times than not, people are like, oh, I was really into it, and they see the photo. And it's like, and they look at it and go, that's not me. He must have missed that lap. It feels that weird because we're used to sitting, especially these seats, right? They sit you right in there. This is what we do, especially if you're more of a highway rider, right? All you have to do is this. You don't have to hang off. You don't have to do anything with your butt. Just do this. The more you do it, the more the bike can stand up. Counterbalance? Well, counterweighting is different. This is getting to the inside. Counterweighting is when you are doing like a tight U-turn and you're turning like, and I want to go around this way. I'll stay on top of the bike.
Right.
It's counterweighting. Yeah, it's counterbalance. Same term. So, how do you do this? How do you get yourself past? So when I have people at the parking lot training, and we do the cornering drills, I said, have you ever touched down your floorboard? I said, no. Well, today you are. Otherwise, I won't be doing my job. I need you to get a feel for what it feels like. Because I was in the corner, hit your floorboard, and what do you do?
Freak out. Stand up.
Everybody does. Everybody does. So that's where in a parking lot, that's the place to do it. It's a controlled environment. Same with the racetrack, right? Then you start working on the body position thing. You're not dragging your parts so much, and now you're engaged with your bike more too. Right? You're a passenger on the bike when you sit on it like this. You're a pilot when you're engaged with it. Right? It's not much. think I got photos. Look at this guy. See? He's got it going on. Look at his eyes. When you actually do that, your eyes are you're ahead, you're in the corner. He's relaxed, look at how relaxed his arms are. He's able to counter steer as needed. He's fluid with his throttle. This is a beautiful thing right here. This is from one of the track days. This is the photographer. He's a pro photographer. And you get to look at this and look at that.
Right on the ground.
But because he's up here, he's not touching his floor.
Now, is he leaning in or leaning out?
He's leaning this way.
And push the bike out that way.
No, he's not doing anything with the bike. Instead of doing this, which is what you guys do on the street, which is what I do on the street mostly too, instead of doing this, he's just going farther with his body. The combined center of gravity changes so that the bike doesn't have to lean as much. You don't have to straighten it up. You just do this and the bike will naturally stand up for the given speed and given radius. Now, if you want the bike to tighten, like you were talking about handlebar pressure, if you wanted the bike to tighten in the middle of the turn, you can press on the inside handlebar to get it to tighten. You can also do this. The lighter the bike, the better. Like I'm not going to have a big effect on a bike like this to get it to turn, so I rely on handlebars even in the middle of a corner. But like say on the racetrack, where I'm on the side of my tire, very edge of the tire, there's no rubber left, and I'm hanging off, and if I were to give it a little counter steer to tighten it up, I could tuck the front. So what I do in that case, light on the bars. That's enough to keep it in tight, or tighten it slightly. All right? Because the bike doesn't weigh as much, you know. Any other comments or questions about that? Yeah.
I'm going to go back to one of these videos I was watching. Just I want you to talk about it. The guy said something on one of the videos that kind of resonated with me. That the main with the virus, like you try to keep your head level with the horizon. And I've not tried that. It does feel a lot different than the positioning of your head.
So this guy, you see how his head isn't like this with his body? It's cocked slightly. That makes sense, and it's a more natural thing. This is disorienting. This is better.
All right, so it's just more of a feel. It's not necessarily a technique.
I mean, you could call it a technique, but I don't ride like this. I ride like this. So it makes sense. It's more.
I guess it was just something I picked up on the video,
Yeah.
and I concentrate on it, and it just felt.
So these are the details that I can't get in here because of there's so many details. Like I do a whole body position 7. Like that's all I do. So, and it talks about that. It talks about what you do with your feet, talks about your knees, everything. But for street riding, just do this. Make me happy. Just do this. If it feels weird, you're doing it right. It should feel weird. And then go a little further. All right? Throttle timing. We actually already talked about this. If you get on the gas too early or too hard, the bike's going to run into the oncoming lane or into the guardrail. So you feed the throttle in as a direction control tool. All right? The corner starts to open up, you can open your throttle, but don't open it up any faster than the turn is transitioning to the straightaway. Right? You get on the gas too hard, then you set up wide, you got to turn to stay in your lane. Okay, so throttle timing is really important. And precision. All right, we talked a bit about body position. Now we're talking, this is counterweighting for tighter, slower turns. And again, there's a whole other, I can do a whole seminar on this. This is just that little bit of a shoulder in. That's all this is. Nothing dramatic. This is a ring on the racetrack, and he's doing the same thing. He's not hanging off. He's not doing any of that. And then, of course, you see the racers. We do this because I need all the tire I can get. So if I'm hanging off, instead of being on the very edge of the tire, it's leaned up another 2 degrees. That's enough. You need that. So. But look at the head turns, too. Vision. Andrew brought up vision earlier. Okay. You don't look where you're afraid to go. You look where you want to go. And that's always through the turn. Look at his head turn. Faster you go, the farther ahead you have to look. All right, here's my spiel on training. I've been talking about it. Books for sale, $25 and $30. Street training, I've got the brochures. Everybody who came in earlier has one. I've got some up here. This is, again, I supply the communicators. And if you have your own, that's fine. And let's go riding, and I coach you as we ride during the day. And I bring you out to all my roads up in Wisconsin.
Maine?
Parking lot, I have 4 of those. This is the advanced parking lot course. I've got 4 of those scheduled this year. The schedule's on ridinginthezone.com. It's all there. And then the track, we do 2 of these non-sport bike training days that I really cannot stress enough. You're going to leave here going, I had no idea. Right?
That's a whole
Yeah, you, yes. I don't know. It's just something that I've been doing this for a long time. I've been running track days for 25 years. And this was my baby from the beginning. It's a non-sport. We wanted to address, to get the bulk of the street riders here. And that's why we focus on this. So we don't allow the GSXRs and the R6s and all that. That's a different event. This is focusing on street riders. We talk about street riding techniques, and we practice them. So you'll hear me say some of this stuff again in the classroom at the event, and then you get to get on your bike and practice it. And you come back and go, it felt better, but what happens in this case? And I'll answer that question, then you get to go back out there again and try the next level. So that's it. Look at that. You think they're having fun? And it's fun. I got to tell you, it's just a blast.
Where is that track?
Palmer. So Palmer, Massachusetts has the best racetrack. I have been on, right? I've been on racetracks around the world, and this track up in Palmer is my favorite track, or it equals some of the best tracks, to put it that way. Because it terraces up a mountain and comes back down the other side. It's so close to a twisty road that a racetrack can be. It's not like a NASCAR track, you know. It's a road. It's so much fun. There's the parking lot course. Yeah. We allow you to wear full motorcycle gear. Does not have to be leather. We allow armored motorcycle jackets. You have to have armored pants as well, which is needs essentially. And full coverage boots and gloves, so gauntlet gloves. And a full face helmet. It can be a flip up, but you always, before you go on the track, it always has to be down. No open face helmets. This is really, do we have crashes? Yeah. Last 3 events we've had nobody crash. Okay, and that's 100 people per day.
So you do is what you're saying.
It's up to you.
Do you encourage it, or?
The thing is, can you control yourself? You have to answer that question. Most people can't. It's just your motorcycle on a road, on pavement. It's really no different, except it's better because there's no texting teenagers coming at you. And sand in the road. There's none of that. Everybody's going the same direction. The one thing that disorients people is that you get passed by other riders. And most people say, well, I don't want to get in the way. Any of you ski? You ski? Who's the responsible party to get by safely?
People passing.
The passer. What's the responsibility of the slower rider?
Just stay where they are.
Don't do anything.
Yeah, stay where you are.
The track is 45 feet wide. Yeah, but not really, because there's no oncoming lane. You just move out of the way, you go out, accelerate, and off you go. So, the idea of being on a racetrack freaks people out. That's the one thing I probably do more than anything, is to try to convince people that it's a good thing, it's the safest place to ride. It is the safest place you can ride. I mean, maybe a parking lot, but then I've seen texting teens in parking lots. Jeez, forget about it. So, anyhow, I just want to encourage you to do that. It's $350 for one day, $600 for 2. Or is it $6? Anyhow, you get a discount, $50 discount to do both. You're both at Palmer, but we reversed the direction from the first day to the second day. So if you come back the second day, it's like a new road. Parking lot course, you've asked me about that. I've got spots open. These fill up, so if you're interested in that. This is $300. There is a scholarship available, $200 scholarship available through the BMW MOA. You do not need to be a member or a ride of BMW. This is a foundation. So the link is on my website. Street training and practice. Okay? You are not a better rider because you came here today. You're a better rider because you know what to practice when you get on your bike. You have to apply it for you to become that better rider. Okay? Go home and take notes, or better yet, buy a book. Or I got to tell you also, I have a website, the Riding in the Zone website. I must have 150 articles. A lot of them are ones that I wrote for the magazines a while back. And I have a YouTube channel that has I just counted those the other day, 160 videos. About 75 of them are instructional videos where I'm narrating while I'm riding. So, check that out. This is all free, baby. Just giving it to the world. This is beaches. I go with them. I'm going to New Zealand in 2 weeks. I've been to Europe with them 5 times.
Words to live by.
They're terrific. So there's my YouTube channel. There's the website. Scholarships. All right.
What's the search name on your YouTube?
Oh, just Ken Condon. Or it's Ken Condon - Riding in the Zone.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't do Spain. I know. Well, I've lived in Spain, but they don't. We've talked before. Yeah, Spain's great. I did it on a motorcycle press launch.
It was scarier than for me.
Yeah. So let's just recap, and then I can set you guys off. We should have pizza here.
It's here.
It's here. Awesome. So again, enter slow, slower than you exit. Trail brake. Practice this. You really have to be conscious about it. You'll be okay. Don't over brake so that you're stressing your tires. It's all smooth. Delayed corner apex. All right, we talked about that. Counter steer with authority. Learn to love to lean. Go beyond what your comfort zone. Tight throttle timing, body position we talked about, and you got to keep learning. All right? Are you good? Any more questions?
What do you do when you have one side going?
Oh, so some people like turning to the right better than the left, significantly. There's usually a reason, and it usually has to do with handlebar tension. That the throttle could be an issue. Could be that you've had past trauma. There's a lot of things, but usually the bike won't turn because you're not letting it turn.
Right.
If you were to get into the lean and then jump off of it, what's the bike going to do? It's going to go on quite happily. Probably happier than when you were on it. So you're stopping it from doing what it naturally wants to do. So when you think of it that way, get yourself into the lean and relax.
How do you want to do that? Because my left foot, some in the sharp turn for here, I'm more likely to get over here. When I do right, I don't really run out. The same my left foot is here.
So you're saying that with your left-hand turns, you end up oversteering and you're on the oncoming. You have to delay your turn. You have to learn. You have to make sure your counter steering is strong. So that's a psychological problem. I would say see your therapist. I don't know. Maybe it's political. I don't know. See, these are the sort of things that I can see. If I were to ride with him, I would be able to identify the problem. Because it's not brain surgery, really. The motorcycle has a dynamics to it, and we put inputs into it that are either the result is what we want or it isn't. It's kind of that simple. And there are ways, ways to basically train yourself to work with the motorcycle better.
Right. Yeah.
Buddy, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
morning, everybody. We got pizza going now. Highly encourage track days. Done a bunch of them, and what you come away with is amazing. So like Ken has taught, if you can ride here, ride down the street here. This is called Oh Shit Wow. It's at the Math House. We're running for